life right. Cut the skin out, precept you like a knife. The one that died in these streets, I was blind, now I see. The physicians of righteousness. The one that died in these streets, I was blind, now I see. The physicians of righteousness.
Hope everybody's doing well. Happy Sabbath. Let's start with my favorite. We're going to jump right into this because I got a lot. We're going to jump right into this. Titus chapter 1 and verse 5. Titus chapter 1 and verse 5.
This is the book of Titus chapter 1 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
For this cause left I thee in Crete,
Uh-huh.
that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting, and ordain elders in every city.
So today is June 16th. June 16th. Last year this time, who remembers where we were? What you got, Zion? Where was we at last year, June 16th?
We was over your house.
We was over my house. In the living room. Cramped. That was our last Sabbath in the house. That was our last Sabbath. The brothers was here. The sisters was still out the house, right? So that was our last Sabbath. So all praise to the Most High. We've been in this building for a year. We have been here for a year, man. So let's get a Lord a hand for that thing. Been in this thing for a year. Crazy. It went by fast, right? It's been a whole year. We've been here. We've been holding this thing down. The grand opening was like in December, but we start coming in here June. We all got here in June, and we've been rocking ever since. So, all praise to the Most High. We've been rocking. Let's jump. Read that Titus 1 and 5 again.
Titus chapter 1 and verse 5.
Uh-huh.
For this cause left I thee in Crete,
Uh-huh.
that thou shouldest set in order the things that are wanting.
So that's what we did, right? Me and Officer Ananiah, you know what I'm saying? We would be on these calls, right? We would have these conference calls, right? And I tell them about the conference calls.
Yeah, we'll have a Officers Weekly Western Region conference call, and they'll just discuss what's happening within the camps in the certain regions. So they would always start off with status, what's going on, what's happening with the school. Then they'll move on up to what's happening with the school, what's happening with the brothers. No progress with the school, no progress here. Sandy, what's going on? No mention of school, nothing. We're not even looking for a school as far as they're really thinking, but we're like, you know what, we're gonna show them. We gotta beat these other camps. So we lit a fire on the behinds and got on it.
But, I got to thinking, you know what I'm saying? Again, I always mention Titus 1 and 5. You know what I'm saying? I went to Dallas to my first Passover. It was a lot of brothers there. Captain Arama, he was an officer at that time. Uzziah at the time, he was an officer at the time. There was a lot of brothers there in Dallas, a lot of strong brothers. And I remember sitting there and just thinking to myself, like, why am I in San Diego? You know what I'm saying? Like, why am I here? You know what I'm saying? And so, like I mentioned before, I would go out to Plaza Bonita Mall, start handing out flyers. My first Sabbath in San Diego was a brother out here named Eleazar. He up in L.A. now. Eleazar, I went over to his house. That was like my first Sabbath. Then from there, I believe Abijah came along. He's out in Austin now, or San Antonio. Abijah came along. I had Abijah. I had Amzi, Sister Nico. And that's kind of, how it started. We would all be at my house. I had a little apartment. Yeah, I had a little bitty apartment over off of, right by Monte Vista High School. I had a little bitty apartment right there. And everybody would come in there, and we would keep the Sabbath. It was like 4 or 5 of us, And seen a lot of people come, a lot of people go. You know what I'm saying? And to just see us at this point, it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing. Yasadia came along at some point. We had a brother named the guy Nathia. He out there in Florida now, still in the truth, still maintaining. Who else we had come along the way? Caleb, he's up in Washington. Oh, Ananiah, right? I remember. Ananiah came along at some point. Right, I went to his house. I remember going to his house with Abijah. we went to his house with Abijah, and sis was there, and we was going through just kind of the basics, and you know what I'm saying, and yeah, I remember that day. I remember sitting there in y'all living room. That was what I used to do when people would first come into the body. I would go to their house. I was sitting there and talk to them about different stuff and be like, you got a picture on the wall. You wearing pants. Take them off. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of how it would. Take that picture down. Like, that's kind of how it would go.
Needless to say, before they got there, I knew they was coming, so I was running around the house. Get the crosses off the wall. Get the crosses off the wall.
Had crosses all over the wall. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of our original building block. And then from there we went, we began to gather on the Sabbath day. And it just continued to flourish. Let's jump to Proverbs. No, I'm sorry. Let's go to 1 Maccabees chapter 4. 1 Maccabees chapter 4. And we're going to look at verse, I like 35, just because I like 35. Just because I like it. I think I wrote it down just because I like to hear it.
1 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 35.
Uh-huh.
Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judah's soldiers.
And that's what we was trying to develop, right? We was trying to develop our manliness. We was trying to figure out how to kind of develop our camaraderie. We had Soldier Ariel, right? We had Soldier Ariel. We would all go out to the park, you know what I'm saying? So now the brothers kind of got a system when they go out there to run through. But we would go out there and we would just kind of sit at the park bench and just talk about different things. You know, so we was trying to figure out, really trying to get our legs up under us. You know what I'm saying? Read that thing again.
Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, and the manliness of Judas's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia.
So that thing right there, you know, I love this scripture just because that's what we was trying to figure out. And I would always say that to the brothers all the time, is that I can think of no greater thing than to die, you know what I'm saying, fulfilling the commandments of the Lord. So I know that was kind of a thing I would always harp on. Primitivo came along. I remember Prim came along. I met him down at the border. He was excited, you know what I'm saying? Brother was excited, taking pictures, you know what I'm saying? That thing would always trip me out too, especially Caleb. I always talk about Officer Caleb. Man, when we showed up at Officer Caleb's house, he was like floored. He was like, I was just watching you on YouTube. He was like, oh my goodness, like I want your autograph. I was like, nah, bro. Like it was crazy. You know what I'm saying? All praise. Shout out to Caleb, man. Officer Caleb out there. But he was super excited. I remember Sis Maya Jade giving me the craziest face. Like, look at these dudes here. These crazy cats. Sis Maya Jade. Let's jump down to verse. Hold on, I wrote it down. Let's jump down to verse 52.
Verse 52.
Uh-huh.
Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made.
I like this part right here. Here it come.
Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it.
So the brothers, you know what I'm saying, even back here would look at the growth that they had made. You know what I'm saying? They had started off when they was trying to get back into the temple, and they remembered the day that they had got back in and the progress that they had made. And that was more my point. Like, I wanted to look at the progress from where we started from, you know what I'm saying, to us now here. Like, look at where we at now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. It's crazy. Let's jump back. Give me Proverbs chapter 20, verse 24. Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 24. So that's just a little brief history of kind of how we started here in San Diego specifically.
Proverbs chapter 20 and verse 24. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way?
Like I said, again, I never could understand that thing. I would always be like, why am I here in San Diego? And then as we continue to grow and flourish, I said, well, the Lord is very strategic. He didn't just put me here or you here or any of us here for no reason. Very strategic. He always had a specific garrison of brothers that he would put in this area and that area to build up each specific spot. You know what I'm saying? A lot of, and you know, and I understand when I first came to the truth, a lot of brothers would try to move to New York, right? I remember Bez and Yacob, when they came along, they said, we thought we had to move to New York. When they first heard the truth, when they saw brothers, Yacob, I remember the story about Yacob when he first saw the brothers handing out flyers at the thing. What happened? Tell us what happened. Was you there? Oh, okay, what happened?
This brother rolled up, man. He was excited. He jumped off the trolley. He said, I got to go to work, but I'm not going. He said, I'm not going.
He said, I'm not going.
Excited.
Brothers was excited,
Almost
man.
in tears, man.
Oh, praise. Yeah, I remember that when your Yakov came along. So it was just a lot of different things. But all these things was of the Lord, right? The strategic placement and where he put us and why he put us here. It's very strategic. The Lord always got a bigger plan. You know what I'm saying? Let's jump to Romans 11. Romans 11, we're going to look at verse 1. We'll just kind of read down. We're going to read from 1 to 5. Romans 11.
Romans chapter 11 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
I say then, hath God cast away his people?
Mm.
God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
So we being afar off, I remember even when I went to the Rock Church, if you look at my old Bible, I would just write down, I think I'm a Gentile. Like I was trying to figure it out. Like, you know what I'm saying? But he say right here, God has not cast off his people. I thought I was a Gentile. I had no clue who I was. I was trying to figure it out. But at some point, the dots start to connect after all the different steps that I had went through, all the different things I was reading at the time. You know what I'm saying? I know my wife can tell you some crazy stories because I was reading everything, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I was reading everything, trying to figure out who I was, what I was supposed to be doing. I could not figure it out. I was going to the Rock Church. I used to make her listen to this dude named J. Vernon McGee every night. I'd be like, listen to J. Vernon McGee. We would listen to that all the time. And this dude, he do a lot of biblical history, So that was like kind of my process personally and what I was going through. Read that thing. Go ahead.
I say then, hath God cast away his people?
Mm-hmm.
God forbid. For I also am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin.
Okay.
God had not cast away his people, which he foreknew.
God didn't cast me off. I didn't. I had no clue what I was doing, no clue of where I was supposed to be and why. I had no clue, but he knew me. Go ahead.
Wot ye not what the scripture said of Elias?
You got to remember what the scripture said about Elijah. Go ahead.
How he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying.
So Elijah, right, he thought he was the last Israelite. He thought he was the last one. There ain't no Israelites left. Right, go ahead.
Lord, they have killed thy prophets and dig down thine altars, and I am left alone, and they seek my life.
And so a lot of times, like I was saying initially, a lot of times people thought that, everybody got to move to New York. Everybody got to move to Dallas. That's what you thought?
Before I came into IUIC, it's like, I'm going to catch a train, and I'm just going to travel up to New York.
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what everybody thought, right? But read that thing again.
Lord, they have killed thy prophets and dig down thy altars, and I am left alone.
And that's what a lot of people think when they first come into it. They feel like, I'm left alone. I'm the only one here in this city. Not knowing what, though. Keep going.
And they seek my life. But what saith the answer of God unto him?
What did God say to him?
I have reserved to myself 7,000 men.
It's reserved. It's people set forth in each specific area. The Lord is strategic. He got a plan for you, even though you might not be able to see it. You might not be able to see the plan that he have in place. Like I said, when I came to I had no clue what was going on, why I was here. I just was like, I just got to, I don't know. I just hand out some flyers. And then now we here. Keep going.
Who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal. Even so then, at this present time
Even
also.
What? Even that again?
At this present time.
At this present time, the Lord has placed us here strategically. Why? Because there's men and brothers and sisters out there that's waiting for this message. We don't know it yet. We don't know who it is, where they at yet. But the Lord has placed us here in this strategic area for this moment. Finish that.
Also, there is a remnant according to the election of grace.
It's also a remnant. So we got prophets out there. We got leaders out there. We got all type of people out there that's waiting for this moment. They just need to see us doing it. They waiting for this. Okay. That's kind of our history, right? Let's go here. Give me the book of Genesis, chapter 49. So it's a remnant everywhere. Genesis 49, and I want verse 14.
Genesis.
Nope. Give me this one before we go there. Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 18. So the thing we had to do, right, as we continue to grow, right, we kind of had to lay out a vision. I remember right before we end up really going hard, like we went to find a school, I think I did a class with everybody in my house over this right here. Read that.
Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 18. Where there is no vision,
Where there's no vision,
the people perish.
that's what we would do. We would get off the phone and say, what's our vision? What are we going to accomplish? You know what I'm saying? What are we gonna do here in San Diego? What is our plan? What is our vision? And we sat down and we talked about, okay, we got to set deadlines. We got to set goals. We got to figure out where, how we going to get this accomplished. We got to figure out what all the different things we had to figure out. It was a lot of stuff.
We had to figure out different offices for brothers and sisters as far as what they're going to be doing.
Yep.
Most of it had to do with as far as finding a location because we were busting out of our homes.
Right.
As far as people goes.
Right. But I'm saying as far as we was dealing with the city, we was trying to figure out parking plans. We was trying to figure out how the city code works as far as just different things. So we had to really come up with like a game plan on how we going to accomplish what we wanted to accomplish. You know what I'm saying?
Parking regulations.
Yep.
You know, you can't just throw up a building anywhere with 80 to 100 people coming.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, and I remember we would find a building. We were like, this is the one, man. This is the one. And then it'd be like, nope, that door closed. You know what I'm saying?
Most High was he was like probably up there shaking his head like, what is wrong with these dudes?
I felt like a 700 square foot building for us.
It wasn't even that big. They said it was 700 square foot. It was like 400 square foot. It was like a quarter size of this room right here that we're in.
Like, we going to put the kids over here. We're going to put we would have all been like this in that thing. You know what I'm saying? But I had no clue.
No air conditioning.
No
hot.
AC.
Sitting there hot.
It was like one door.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It would have been crazy. All right. Go ahead. Go to Genesis. So we had to come up with a vision.
Genesis
49.
chapter 49.
And we want verse 14. Hold on. Give them a second to get to it. Genesis chapter 49. And we're going to look at verse 14.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 14.
Okay.
Issachar is a strong ass, couching down between two burdens.
Issachar is crouching down between two burdens, right? We say that's like low wages, right? And what else? Long hours, right? Long hours and low wages. Also, right, I always like to look at it in reference to the Americas, right? They are down at the north side of Mexico, right? That's where Issachar resides, right? The north side of Mexico, they have the border wall that Trump has put in place, or that, you know, I don't say he put in place. It was always kind of a wall there. They was always digging tunnels and trying to smuggle they self in and drugs in, right? So they got that, and then below that, they got those other countries like Panama. What's the one where they going crazy down there? Guatemala. A lot of those countries below it are trying to figure out a way into Mexico to get to the U.S. You know what I'm saying? So they got a burden of people trying to go through it and people trying to get out of it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like on both sides they getting it. You know what I'm saying? On both sides. Come on.
And he saw that rest was good, and the land that it was pleasant.
And his land was pleasant. Go ahead.
And bowed his shoulder to bear, and became a servant unto tribute.
So Issachar as a whole is kind of what I want to talk about in their history a little bit. Let's jump to Luke chapter 15. We got to have a vision, right? We got to have a vision. We have made it this far, right? We got a little sanctuary that the Lord has put in place for us. And now we got to continue to figure out how we going to build on what he's done for us. What's the next vision? We've been here for a year, so what's next? What's next for us? What can we do now that the Lord has got us and brought us this far? Let's go to Luke chapter 15, and we're going to start at verse 11.
Luke chapter 15 and verse 11.
So this is a parable, right, of the prodigal son is what they call it, right? What the Lord is saying here is that he's making a comparison of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? Go ahead.
And he said, a certain man had two sons.
Two sons. That'd be Judah and Israel, northern and southern kingdom. Go ahead.
And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. and he divided unto them his living.
Okay, so he gave the younger son his living. Go ahead.
And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey.
What did he do?
Took his journey.
Took a journey
into a far country. And there wasted his substance with riotous living.
Okay, stop right there. Give me, I think I sent you this, JDL. Just open it up. You don't got to click on the actual Wikipedia. Just kind of open that question up. Okay, go ahead.
What is the Bering Strait theory? Theories to explain the colonization of the New World.
Okay.
The last great habitable landmass to be occupied by humans. Focus on the Bering Land Bridge, or Beringia, which emerged between Siberia and Alaska during the last ice age.
Man, that thing always tripped me out, right? Because I always think to myself, I won't say always. When I came to the truth, I started to think about these things, like the Bering Straits and the Ice Age. What year did that happen? It don't even make sense when you look at it. It's like 15,000 years ago or something. Like it don't even give you like no specific kind of area on when the Bering Strait land bridge was supposed to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't even really make sense. But the Lord said, read that verse again. We was at verse
Luke chapter 15 and verse 13.
13. Go ahead.
And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country.
So let's see if the journey that he took it via the Bering Straits. Let's see if that's what happened. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. And that's the thing you got to be able to determine whether you're going to believe God or you're going to believe madness that don't even align with no type of historical type of like lineup, like in reference to what time frame would that happen, this Bering Straits land bridge.
One thing, every time I see that word theory,
Yeah.
I think, here we go, some more of Esau's ideas.
Yeah.
I was just looking it up. Theory originates from the word speculation. Spectator. So it's just, you know what, this sounds good to me. So let's suppose that this happened, and everybody's supposed to follow it. But if you tell Esau, well, that's not 100% true, then they get up in flames. They're all irritated about it. It has to be true because Esau said it.
Because he said it. What year? Well, just tell me what year that happened. Like, if you could just give me any type of idea of year, specifically when the Bering Straits happened, I might be like, okay, well, maybe we have something we can build on here. But I got nothing. I just got some theory, and this is how people got here. Let's see what God say.
2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes.
Oh, so this is what the Lord is saying about what happened with Luke, right? When we were just reading in Luke, when it say that he went into a further country. Those are the 10 tribes. Go ahead.
Which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters. And so came they into another land. So
this is making reference to when the northern kingdom was carried away in the Assyrian captivity, and it's around like 722, right? It's around 722. Go ahead.
But they took this counsel amongst themselves.
So when they say, but they took this counsel among themselves, when the Persians came in, right, and defeated the Babylonians, when they came in, they gave them freedom and liberty to kind of worship God however they chose to, right? And that was around 530 something, right? 530 something, right? Go ahead, read that again.
But they took this counsel amongst themselves.
So that's a 200-year gap that we just covered from that verse to that verse. Go ahead.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Go ahead.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
Okay.
And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Arsaris.
So the Lord is saying that they didn't get here via the Bering Straits during the Ice Age. He's saying that they got on ships and they came over here to Arsaris. That's would be so-called Mexico and Cuba and Brazil and all of that. That's how they got over here, according to the scriptures. That's what the Lord is saying, right? Give me let's go back to Luke again. Go ahead.
Luke chapter 15 and verse 11.
Verse
13.
We're at 13.
Verse 13.
We see that he's talking about the two kingdoms right here. Go ahead.
And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a farther country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want.
So it was a mighty famine in that land. So we're going to look at a little bit of history that happened with the northern kingdom, with Mexico specifically. Can I get that video? Can I get that video?
3 minutes.
Yeah, let me get that one.
The Spanish discovery of the New World by Christopher Columbus led to the establishment of permanent European settlements. And by the early 16th century, Spain controlled the entire continental shore of the Caribbean Sea, including Cuba and Hispaniola. In 1518, the Spanish governor of Cuba, Diego Velázquez de Cuellar, commissioned Hernán Cortés to make contact with the natives in Mexico. But it became clear that Cortés was arming and provisioning for an expedition of conquest. Velázquez tried to replace Cortés, but his replacement was intercepted and killed. Cortés and a few hundred men set sail for Mexico in an act of open mutiny. Central Mexico at that time was dominated by the Aztec Empire, a confederation of city-states that had united and expanded over the past century. They were surrounded by various other states like the Tarascan, Tlaxcala, and Mixtec, while most of southern Mexico was controlled by the Maya. Cortés soon landed on the island of Cozumel, where he met with a white shipwreck survivor, a Franciscan priest, who served as his translator. They captured the capital of the small Mayan state, Potonchan, and were awarded with women, one of whom, La Melinche, who became Cortés's mistress and translator. Cortés then landed on the coast of Veracruz in April and created a new settlement. As an elected official of the new town council, he reported directly to the Spanish crown, which allowed him to avoid prosecution for defying Velázquez's orders. The Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II agreed to send representatives to meet with Cortés, but refused to meet with him personally. Cortés scuttled his own fleet to avoid his men escaping, formed an alliance with the local Totonac chief, and marched inland to the Aztec capital Tenochtitlan in August. Although they met some resistance from the Otomi and Tlaxcalans, they decided to unite against their common enemy, the Aztecs. Together they continued on to the holy Aztec city of Cholula, which they took without any resistance. But Cortés got word of a plot to murder the Spanish in their sleep, so he killed over 3,000 people and burned the city to the ground. Fearing a similar fate, Moctezuma chose the path of diplomacy and invited the conquistadors to visit the capital. November 8, 1519, Cortés and his men arrived at Tenochtitlan, and according to Cortés, Moctezuma pledged his loyalty to the King of Spain. However, this is unlikely, because when Cortés planned to place an image of the Virgin Mary and a cross at the top of their main temple pyramid, Moctezuma responded by killing 7 Spaniards. Cortés quickly arrested Moctezuma, who did not resist because he feared an open rebellion in the city would allow the Spanish to install another prince as emperor. Meanwhile, Governor Velázquez sent Pánfilo de Narváez to Mexico with orders to capture Cortés for violating his orders. Cortés quickly defeated this force in April 1520. However, when he returned to Tenochtitlan, he found the city was in open rebellion after his men had massacred Aztec nobility in the Great Temple. He ordered Moctezuma to speak to his people, but they threw stones at him instead. Moctezuma either died from his injuries or was killed by the Spanish before they fled the city. They lost many men during the hurried retreat, but, despite being heavily outnumbered, were able to defeat the pursuing army led by the new emperor Cuitláhuac in July 1520 at Otumba. The Tlaxcala gave the surviving Spanish refuge, while a smallpox epidemic killed many Aztecs, including Cuitláhuac. So the Spanish regrouped, built boats, and with fresh reinforcements and tens of thousands of Tlaxcala allies, marched on the capital again. They arrived at the city in May 1521, blocked the causeways leading into the city, captured their water supplies at Chapultepec, and patrol the shores to prevent supplies being ferried in. They broke into the city in August. The new emperor Cuauhtemoc was caught trying to escape, and the Aztecs surrendered. The city was destroyed, and the surviving Aztec people were cast out, forbidden to live in the ashes of their former city. On the site, Cortés began to build the foundations of what would become Mexico City. Neighboring states like the Tarascan submitted to Spanish rule. It would take the Spanish another 170 years to finally end the resistance in Mesoamerica and conquer the Maya in the Yucatan Peninsula. Disease would prove to be their strongest ally, with 3 separate epidemics that may have killed as much as 75% of the indigenous population. We'd like to thank Jabsy for hosting us on this episode. If you like quick and informative history, visit our channel at 1 Minute History.
Down there, mirror image. What happened to us, right? What happened to us during Titus and Vespasian? What happened to us during the time of Babylon? It's a mirror image, right? They went through the exact same stuff. Let's jump to give me Lamentations chapter 5, verse 1. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 1.
Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 1. Remember, O Lord, what is come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach. Our inheritance is turned to strangers.
That's what happened to them, right? Their land was taken over, right? When I was doing the reading on this thing, they said it was over 25 million people there in Mexico already. How did they come over there and discover it? It was only 25. It was over 25. It was over 25 million people already there, but they set up a new colony. It wasn't nothing new. They was already there. Talking about they took this woman for his mistress. No, that was his slave. That was his slave. It wasn't his mistress. You know what I'm saying? Read on.
Our houses to aliens.
Our houses to aliens. Cortez showed up around 1519, right? They had about 1,000 years of kind of living riotously, like we read in Luke, right? Where they was making human sacrifices and just going off, right? That's what they was doing. They didn't come over here and fulfill the commandments of the Lord like they said they would. That's not what happened. Keep going.
We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. We have drunken our water for money.
Hold on. Stop that. Jump back. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 22. It say we are orphans and we are widows. These dudes showed up. Cortez and them showed up with like 500 men. And defeated like 25, like a whole army of people with like 500 people. Let's see how they did it. Come on.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 22. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption and with a fever and with an inflammation and with an extreme burning and with the sword and with blasting and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Which one? Get that one too. Verse what? Verse 52. Hold on. Let me see. No. So that's what happened, right? The main tool that they used in order to defeat the Aztec was they were able to weaponize these diseases. That's what happened. They was able to weaponize these diseases against the people there, and therefore that's how they conquered them. It wasn't that they showed up with a greater force. We had went off. They weaponized the diseases, and the Lord allowed that thing to destroy them. That's what happened. Come on, let's go back to Lamentations.
Lamentations chapter 5 and verse 3. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows.
Our mothers are widows. When Cortez showed up and they dropped that smallpox off, it was the curtains. Go ahead.
We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us.
Man, that verse right there, I always think about them Issachar brothers that be out at Home Depot. Working in front of Home Depot, trying to get a job for the wood for the country that they was in first. They should own Home Depot. They shouldn't stand outside in front of Home Depot trying to figure out how to get the work done. But this is the state that they in. Their inheritance is turned to strangers. Read that again.
We have drunken our water for money.
When they say we drunken our water for money, like who should own Arrowhead? Who should own Aquafina? The so-called Mexicans, they was here first. But they don't. Come on.
Our wood is sold unto us. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest.
They labor and have no rest. They out there all day hustling. Come on.
We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities.
So based on the fact that they ancestors had sinned, they stuck in this perpetual cycle of working in the fields, standing outside of Home Depot. Come on.
Servants have ruled over us. There is none that doeth deliver us out of their hand.
Okay.
We gate our bread with the peril of our lives because of the sword of the wilderness.
Because when Cortez showed up, right, they was getting defeated. Go ahead.
Our skin was black like an oven because of the terrible famine.
Okay.
They ravished the women in Zion.
Like we just read, he went over there and got one of them slave women, and he went over there and took that woman into slavery, right? They ravished the women. Even the Aztec women went through the same thing that our sisters went through as far as Judah is concerned. Come on.
And the maids in the cities of Judah. Princes are hanged up by their hand. The faces of elders were not honored.
When they showed up with Montezuma, they took that man captive and he got stoned. And he was the ruler over 25 million people. No honor given to that man. He was stoned to death. Let's jump back. Give me. This is always the frustrating part for me. Give me Daniel chapter 9 and verse 7. You got that other article that you had, JDO? Pull that up right quick. Yeah, pull that up right quick. Because this is the part mostly that tripped me out. So we see that Cortez showed up with like 500 people, right? The history that I was reading said was millions of people already there in Mexico. But you ask a so-called Mexican or Hispanic that's over there who they are, and what do they normally say?
I'm Spanish.
I'm Spanish. I'm from Spain. They showed up with 500 people, and there's millions of y'all there. Now y'all all Spain. Y'all from Spain. Y'all all was conquistadors. Who got conquered? If y'all all conquistadors.
Shalom. This is Bishop Nathaniel of Israel United in Christ. Please subscribe to our YouTube channels. Stay up to date with our latest events, music, and classroom lessons. IUIC plans to continue visiting different countries where this gospel has not been preached before. IUIC needs your help in pushing this truth. So join us. Subscribe to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and podcast, and stay up to date with us. For more information, please visit www.israelunite.org.